Because
right?
it's illogical, and more importantly, the price is the least relevant or interesting part of Bitcoin.
Can you explain that dichotomy to people? Because a lot of people would say, oh, that makes sense. But if you explain it a little bit better, you understand that it doesn't really make sense.
Well, think about it this way. In 2000, 90% of all internet startups went belly up. Almost $1 trillion of value was destroyed. And that was the internet's best year. Why?
Biggest year for growth.
Because that's when you started really seeing the web take off, and the utility and adoption all hit these inflection points with the real explosion in mobile, the beginning of smartphones and mobile internet. The web had finally taken hold and was beginning to get serious attention from business, and all of the first generation internet startups blew up. But what really happened is in the last 2 years of that bubble, the internet became entrenched in everybody's life. 2000 was simultaneously the internet's death and its rebirth. And so, but that is capitalism. That process of creative destruction and rebirth is the process that creates tremendous innovation and attention for things. Bitcoin has now gone through 4 bubbles like this. And in fact, everybody knows about the November 2013, went up to $1,000, crashed down to 230. We're at 270 now.
Yeah.
But what people don't know is that that's not the biggest bubble Bitcoin has ever had. 2 years before that, Bitcoin shot up to $30 and crashed to 25 cents. And in relative terms, that was a bigger climb and a much bigger drop. And it took almost 2 years to recover from that. And that was its second biggest bubble, because the really big bubble was when it went from 1/1000th of a penny to $1.
Right.
And at $1, that was the real birth of Bitcoin, because parity was almost considered unattainable. The dollar per Bitcoin was like a holy grail dream.
Right, because it started off as worth basically zero in an idea.
Absolutely. And the idea that you can bootstrap a global currency from nothing was in itself a ridiculous idea. So when you hit dollar parity, you've proven that you can bootstrap a global currency from nothing, and that's never happened before. To then say that the Bitcoin is dead because it's at 260, if you go back, the idea that it could ever reach 260 was insane. And by the way, we're not done. We've got at least 3 or 4 more bubbles.
Right.
Bitcoin is not going to now be steady, because every time attention shifts back, it blows another huge rise. Right. And because there's not enough to sustain that rise usually, it will then revert and crash down again. This is a roller coaster. It's going to continue to be a roller coaster for 3 or 4 years, just like the internet was. The big difference? The internet didn't have a single stock price that everyone could pay attention to. So it's both a blessing and a curse. Right. It's a blessing because as an investment vehicle, by attracting people to speculate on it, it's generated a lot of attention when it goes up. It generates a lot of investment in Bitcoin companies, and a lot of the early Bitcoin millionaires, if you like, were able to reinvest their Bitcoin into startups. But at the same time, double-edged sword, every time it crashes, someone writes an obituary for Bitcoin. They're like, Bitcoin is now dead. By the way, there's a site called bitcoinobituaries.com where you can read 150 obituaries written since 2010, all of which are not true. And I'm guaranteeing you there are going to be 2 to 3 more years of obituaries being written about Bitcoin.
Right. Just to square a few things away, how many Bitcoins are in existence? How many will be, in the end, how many will exist? And why does that ultimately not really matter? To watch the rest of this fascinating interview, click on the link below and go to londonrealacademy.com. There you can sign in with your social media login and watch the rest of the episode for free, along with all of our episodes on London Real, my webinars, and all of our premium content, all located over at londonrealacademy.com. So click on the link below, you'll be directed there, and you can watch the rest of this fascinating interview, and I'll see you there.